Did the real estate market go up or down? Well, you've come to the right place to find out what's going on here in Orange County, California. I'm Jim with the Bishop team, bringing you the real estate information you need to know to make the right move. So let's start with supply. Number of homes that came on the market this past month, October of 2025. You can see it's actually down about 7% from the month prior, so a little bit less supply coming on the market. We're still down about 31% from 2019, so a little bit slower here in October of 2025. And if we look at year to date, we're actually up 9%. More homes have come on the market or listed year to date than last year. And about 34%, about the same number there compared to 2019. So a little bit more supply compared to last year, a lot less compared to 2019. So from a total supply standpoint, the number of homes for sale up quite a bit, 24% compared to last year, which was a relatively low number historically. Still down about a third from 2019. So overall, a little bit more supply for buyers and a little bit more competition for sellers. And this just looks at the trends throughout the year. As you can see, as most years, as we're getting towards the end of the year, the supply is coming down, but that black line, 2024, is above recent years, still down below 2019. So the other side of the supply and demand coin is demand. As you can see, the last 4 years, demand has been suppressed. We are up about 2% October 24 versus 25. So a little bit higher demand this year and still way down 43% from 2019. And this shows from January to December, the seasonality of the demand. As you can see, 2025, that black line has just been a little bit above 2024, 23, and 22, but still relatively low compared to 2019 and past years. This looks at supply and demand at the same time, red being demand, homes in escrow, blue being the supply, the number of homes for sale. And you can see, both numbers change, but when red is above blue, meaning there's more homes in escrow than supply, it's a really strong market. And then most recently here, you can see a lot more blue compared to red. So the market has slowed down, supply being much higher than the demand. So this one, we added this green line. That's the graph of the relationship between supply and demand. If you look, back here, relatively high green line, supply versus demand, kind of normal, 3 times as many homes for sale as in escrow. And as we got into 21, you had twice as many homes in escrow than demand, super hot market. And then more recently, that line's come up, but you can see it's started to dip a little bit. So market is actually picked up a little bit of steam. Don't get too excited, no major shifts, but it hasn't just been slowing. So for our October sales, closed sales, and we said this was going to happen, but the sales in October, it was up 11% over last year. Pretty good bump. We saw that coming with the escrows being way above the prior year. I'm still down at almost a third from 2019, but you can see the last couple of years, not quite as bad as 24 and 23, up a little bit. Some of that's being driven by a little bit better interest rates. We'll talk more about that in a second. So a little bit more demand. Now, even though sales have been up recently, if we look year to date, still down about 2% compared to last year, still down about a third from 2019, still being relatively flat from the last couple of years through October. So here's our mortgage interest rates. You can see a year ago, we were at about 7%. It peaked at 7.25% in January, and now we're down at about 6.3. That's the benchmark. You can do better, but that's our benchmark. So we're down almost 3/4 of a point from last year and almost a whole point from the beginning of the year. That's what's spurring a little bit more of that demand. is a better interest rate, making the buyer's payment a little bit better. Plus they have a few more choices in inventory or supply. So some buyers have identified that now is a good time to buy and have gone and taken that plunge and gotten into escrow. Now, speaking of interest rates, we talked last time about the gap. What is the gap? That is the difference between the 10-year treasury and mortgage rates on a 30-year mortgage. Now, everybody talks, oh, the Fed's cut rates. That doesn't directly impact mortgage rates. What is a better indicator is the 10-year treasury, but there's a margin or a gap on top of that. So traditionally that gap is about 1.7%, meaning if the treasury is 4, the mortgage rate would be 5.7. It's the 1.7 gap. Now, see this spike here? That's what's happened in the last couple of years. That gap was pretty much double the historical number, about 3.4. So even if the treasury had come down to 4%, that 3.5% gap, interest rates are at 7.5%. So even though the treasury hasn't made big changes, because this gap is coming down, that's where we're seeing better mortgage rates for consumers, which is helping them afford the homes that they want to buy. So keep an eye on this. Even though the gap is down, it's still a little over 2. So there is some room for, without any movement in the treasury, for interest rates in the mortgage industry to come down even further. And then if the 10-year comes down, that helps as well. So what does all that do to pricing? I know that's the question we often get asked. Supply and demand affects this. Interest rates affect demand, and they affect supply in some respects. So if we look year to date, down about 1%. If we look year over year, meaning October to October, we're up about 1%. So are we up? Are we down? Yes. Still down about 3% from the peak. We were 5% down from the peak last month, because this past month, prices on average went up 2% dollar per square foot for South Orange County. So we've had some movement as demand picked up a little bit. It pushed prices up a little bit. Still relatively flat over the last year. So if you're thinking, oh, you know, his house sold for $2 million, I can get 2.2. You wouldn't expect to see that based on any movement in the market, with it being relatively flat. If they sold for 2 and you have a similar house, you might be around 2. So sellers need to not be extrapolating the appreciation that we saw years ago and saying, oh, I'm going to put the price for 2.2 or 2.5. They need to be realistic. Listen to a market expert like us to help guide you through this, so that you're not sitting on the market, which we are seeing. Some homes extrapolated appreciation that wasn't there, sat on the market, sat on the market, sat on the market, and ended up chasing the market down and selling for less than if they had priced right correctly. So that's where this market gets tricky, and you need to list responsibly and work with someone who knows the market. You don't want to zig when the market's going to zag, and vice versa. So that's our October market update. I hope that helped you see what's going on, supply, demand, and pricing, among other things. If you have any questions about maybe a house you're looking to buy or thinking of selling, give us a call. Every neighborhood's a little different. We see these are averages, so while some are up, some are down. Overall, on average, about flat. But real estate is local, so you have to factor that in. I'm Jim with the Bishop team, your leading realtors here in Orange County, California, helping you make the right move in real estate.